It is Dukes and Bell, Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. You guys know we bring you the biggest and the best guests in the ATL. This is a gentleman that's in studio. We told you we had a special guest for you. And Mike, he was on our show before the start of what became one of the greatest starts to a franchise in the history of sports. And we're talking about Atlanta United. And Darren Eales is back.
There he is. El Jefe, turn this mic on for crying out loud. Chris, we're on Amazon. Make this production value. Edit this now. But yeah, man, El Jefe, welcome back to the A, man.
Yeah, great to be here, guys.
It is. It's good to see you. Now, for those who are not familiar, Darren was our president with Atlanta United. Guys, he helped build this along with Carlos Bocanegra and a lot of great other folks. But it was his vision with Atlanta United that, and this goes back. I mean, Mike and I going to a reveal party of what the kits were going to look like.
At the compound, we knew soccer was going to be big in the state here in Atlanta. 4,000 people trying to get into the long party.
And the name had been leaked, if you remember.
Right,
everyone knew what the name was, so it wasn't even a surprise.
And we were like, well, who's going to be down there? We get down there, and there's a line around the corner, and we're like, maybe people are interested. So, Darren, it's good to have you back now with Newcastle, guys. We're going to talk about why he's back in Atlanta here in just a second, but let's just kind of get caught up, man. I mean, you take the job, you go back home, but you miss a little bit, right? You miss us a little bit.
Absolutely, and it's been interesting because it's been so busy at Newcastle, obviously, new job. I went straight into the Premier League at the start of the season. But flying over, that excitement of coming back to Atlanta, and we've been at the training ground today, so just to see those old familiar faces that I hadn't seen for 9 months.
Right.
And I love this city so much.
And obviously, Newcastle is doing great. For those who don't follow European soccer, you've got obviously the championship, and you've got the Champions League. And right now, you guys are in third, which means more money and, more importantly, more competition, the prestige of it. And they can all attribute that to you.
I think it's more about timing, Mike. I'd love to, but to be fair, Eddie Howe, the coach, has done a great job. But no, you're right. We're ahead of schedule because our wage bill is probably 8th or 9th in the league. So you usually finish where your wage bill is, but we've got a chance to finish in the top 4 and get the moolah from the Champions League, and we're pretty excited about that.
Darren Eales, our guest in studio, guys. Atlanta United, by the way, playing tomorrow against Charlotte. Pregame at 7. Kicks at 7:30 here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. I've got my old Biggie kit. Darren brought a new one.
These are unbelievable.
And I'm like, what? This is awesome right here. So I can literally now wear, my Atlanta United Miggy Almiron kit. And now I have this one, and you guys will be able to see on our YouTube and Twitch videos that are out there. But, man, thank you so much. What's been the biggest difference going back and being in the position you're in as far as managing? And is it just the pressure that's involved?
Yeah, I think Atlanta United was amazing. The support we got was incredible. But you guys know, you talk about 5 different sports, and you've got the colleges and everything else. And obviously in England and in Newcastle in particular, it is all about just the football team. And so that level of pressure. And look, we're in a great position, so it's a privilege to have that role. And I'm excited. I get up every day excited about what we can do. But you also feel that sort of pressure because Newcastle, I'm trying to think of the equivalent in American football, but they haven't won a trophy for over 50 years. So, but the fans,
it's the Jets.
Yeah, but 52,000 every game, packed out stadium. So we had a Carabao Cup against Manchester United, the League Cup. We lost it, but we basically took over London. It was just incredible. So the fan base is there. And so we've now got this team and people can believe. So it's quite exciting. So it feels a little bit like, I joke about it being a 130-year-old startup. It's like Atlanta United. We've actually now got the chance to create something special. So we're pretty excited.
And for guys who don't follow the English Premier League, Newcastle, I'll speak like a typical provincial American, the very northern end of England, right before you get into Scotland.
That's right, nearly Scotland, yeah.
Where Brian Johnson is from AC/DC, and Mark Knopfler. But I remember, what's the movie, Goal, Carl? The kid comes from L.A., and he goes after the goal, the dream begins. It just seems like, again, it's a religion up there.
Yeah, and it's a one city, so similar to here, a one city, one club, but so everybody cares about Newcastle United. So, grannies wear the shirts on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's like properly the whole sort of city. And it is, it's that culture. So, it's building something special, but we're really excited about coming here, obviously, because, when we had a chance to play in the summer series for the Premier League, we've got 6 teams, but the marquee game is Newcastle United against Chelsea at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the 26th. Going to be amazing. And Mike, I know, I know you've got your Chelsea allegiances, but for this one game with Miggy, the hometown hero, coming back, I'm expecting you to at least give us some love.
Well, you know what? When Abramovich Carl got the boot, I'm out on Chelsea. Okay, I'm done. No more rooting for teams with oligarchs. I'm rooting for Newcastle. I said, Carl, I renounce.
You done?
I renounce the Blues. I renounce Stamford Bridge and Chelsea. Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm in like in for a penny and for a pound.
Yeah,
Newcastle.
Newcastle's the sister city of Atlanta, which I didn't realise till recently. So come on, you've got to go.
Nice. There you go.
Go
Chelsea's
for the Magpies.
dead to me.
Fair enough. We are going to host, guys, the 2026 World Cup, right? You were a big part of that and helping get that for the city. This, I think, is going to be as close to that with the environment and the fanfare with the clubs that are playing in this, Darren. Just talk about what the premise is and the purpose and how this is going to go on around the different parts of the country.
Yeah, so Premier League have traditionally done a preseason tournament, usually out in the Far East, but because America's such an important market now with NBC and basically creating that Saturday morning slot where people have got their teams. So the idea is a 6-team tournament. So we'll be playing Aston Villa in Philadelphia on the 22nd. Then we come here to play a double header. So I think it's Brighton against Brentford and then us against Chelsea at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They're putting grass down. So I think it's a good test case, to your point, Mike, about, okay, this stadium, when the World Cup comes in 26 and grass needs to be put down, how does that look? But it's sold out. Within 48 hours, most of the tickets were gone. So that's going to be a great game. Then we finish against Brighton out in New Jersey. So we can't wait for it. It's going to be great. And of course, for us, we're trying to sort of connect with we have the Atlanta Mags, which is the Magpies, our nickname. So we've got 7. It's like the olden days. I'm down at the brew house at 7 a.m. doing a Q&A and having 2 pints before sort of 9 o'clock and a full English breakfast. But anyone who wants to come down there, Atlanta United fans are welcome as well. We're putting on breakfast, but it's just a chance. We're playing Leeds, a huge match for us. We can get that win, and then it'll be an all-dayer, and we'll end up at Mercedes-Benz Stadium to see Atlanta United thrash Charlotte.
Nice. And again, it's the Darren Eales. If you're just tuning in, guys, in studio, former president of Atlanta United, now the big muckety muck for Newcastle over in the UK. So we're in the same kind of boat we were in with Miggy. You went and found Almada. You created this pipeline from South America. Can you do the same business model in the UK? Does that fly?
It's a little bit different. I mean, the one thing I'd say is an advantage is we don't have the designated player spot. So the way it works in England is you can spread it around your squad. But I think, there's always going to be that trick, and we're in it now. We're punching above our weight. We're going to hopefully go into a Champions League cycle. But there'll always be that moment when the right price comes for a player. And it doesn't matter whether you're in England or in MLS. Sometimes you have to take that either because the money's too good or because the player wants that move. So it's the dynamic that you get in soccer that isn't in other sports. And, I think we had that with Miggy when we said to him, if you remember back when we signed him, I remember talking to you guys, look, the plan was come and give us a couple of good years, win us a trophy, and then you get that move. And we couldn't deny him that move when he had the opportunity. And obviously he's now at Newcastle. This season he's been a revelation, scored 11 goals just up to Christmas. And, he's the same old smiling Miggy that puts his heart and soul in. And he loves Atlanta, so he's still asking me about, Atlanta. So, I mean, he can't wait to come back and play here. But I think, Thiago always knew he was going to be top drawer, and you saw that by being in the Argentina squad. So think about that, an actual player in the MLS who's part of the team that wins the World Cup. And I think, the question's going to be, and you've got great people in charge of the club that will make the right decision, but when is that moment that you get that offer that is the right move for the club, right move for the player? And of course, again, then makes it easier to recruit that next player because you've shown a pipeline.
How tough was it to get Thiago, though? It was rough, right?
It was hard.
It was hard.
Yeah, no, it was. Couldn't be more pleased. I mean, he's a great talent, and the start of this season, some of the goals he scored in clutch situations. I mean, that free kick, when even I'm watching it on the telly thinking, why the heck are you shooting? And then it goes in, you're like, great goal. But I think, that is, he's clearly a talent, and he's going to be a great player. But it was hard work getting him, but they're always hard work, the ones that they're in demand. And, really pleased for Atlanta United that he came on board because he's such a special player.
It's Darren Eales with us live in studio here in your home of Atlanta United. I don't think it's tampering, even though you're an executive in England, but is the Messi thing viable here in the States, or can he make too much money going to the Middle East?
I think it'd be an interesting question. I mean, he loves Miami, so I think, that's been the sort of smoke signals is his family enjoys Miami. I think the league, I've always been a big fan, as you know, of MLS, and it's growing, and he'd clearly be a game changer if he came across here. So I think it's going to be a question of, what is what is able to be put in the package to entice him. But, you know, they've been quite resourceful in the past in terms of trying to attract those talent they think is going to change the game, and I think he'd be a game changer.
Could they market him? I mean, like commercial. I mean, from the commercial aspect, just doing more endorsements over here, like he's done over there.
Yeah, commercially, just in terms of the eyeballs for the Apple deal. So you could see a number of avenues. And again, with the 2026 World Cup coming, which, by the way, guys, is going to be huge because think of the last 2 World Cups, Qatar and Russia. Everyone is going to come to America, Mexico, and Canada. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
I got to pump my chest out and then ask you for a favor. It's Dukes and Bell at Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. So Mike and I went to the Final Four a couple months back, right? March. Right. We're on this flight. Guy sitting like 2 seats over from me. We start talking, and we get into this conversation about travel, and he somehow comes up and says, well, I'm going over to Newcastle to see them play for the first time in my life. And I'm like, well, I know a guy at Newcastle. And he says, I've never been, but he's watched the games. And the randomness of this, Darren, is just, you get this all the time, I'm sure. People around the world, and Mike and I talk about Premier League and the fan and the fandom, right, following this league. And so he's like, I've never been, but I can't wait to go. He's coming over this summer or when the season resumes. And he says, so I told him, I said, well, I know a guy. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah, he runs Newcastle. So now I feel like, you know, I've got to come through for this guy. But long story short is, how much has it grown? Do you feel like it's the same when you were over there before? How much has it grown?
No, I mean, it really is. It's a great question, Carl. So the first game I went back to was Manchester City, Newcastle at St. James's Park. It was 3-3. It was an unbelievable game. I'd been gone, 7.5 years? The standard of the Premier League is out this world. And it's because you've got teams like Bournemouth that are outspending the Bundesliga in the January window. Wow. And, you know, those smaller clubs have all got talented players. So I think the level's amazing. And, you know, the issue we've got, and part of, you know, our excitement of coming out here and bringing the team to America and to Atlanta, Philadelphia, New York is, you know, we're an amazing club with a sold-out season ticket, you know, every game. There's a massive waiting list. But we've also got all of this international because of the global appeal of it. So how can we connect? And that's part of the fun. So those stories are, you know, music to my ears because we want people that are in America, in, you know, China, wherever they may be, to have Newcastle as their team. And the only way we're going to do that, it's no different from how we built Atlanta United, is you've got to build a connection. It's a different connection than in the city, but that's what we're trying to do. So the, you know, at the Brew House tomorrow at 7 a.m. That's about building this fan base and trying to build that connection.
I know we got a jet, but the Man City, is this the end of the Man City run because of the financial issues that they impose on the league?
It'll be interesting. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with that, but you know what you would say at the moment is they're an amazing team.
Yes, understood.
Darren Eales, it is a pleasure to see you guys. These matches we're talking about, they're going to happen July 26th. Darren mentioned it. Tickets sold out, right? Yep. This is going to be an event, but we had to have you in studio. We appreciate you reaching out and saying, hey, coming back and visiting our guys, man. We thank you so much for hanging out with us. Tomorrow again. What time again tomorrow?
7 a.m. at the Brew House, little 5 points, and hopefully I'll see you guys in July.
Right on. Sir. We'll be right behind the Magpies bench, Carl.
We will be there. Darren Eales, thank you so much for stopping by.